Last time, the game really threw me for a loop because when you play as the kid, you spend the most time before the route differentiation, um, which is hard to tell when that happens in the game. But if you look at the clear list, you can kind of tell where it happened afterwards because you have kid routes, kid scenes, and then you have kid slash U scenes. Um, you spend the most time with you, and then you get funneled into the U route, where it doesn't seem like there are any other routes you could even get into. And if there are, they are hard to find. Well, when I play as Takeshi, the character I spend the most time with as Takeshi seems to be Tsugumi. And so I expect to be funneled into a Tsugumi route. Well, Tsugumi gets seriously injured so that she is essentially immobilized. Then, how exactly would you have a Tsugumi route? I guess you could just talk to her in the infirmary when she's just laying there. But it's not very much of a route, is it? So, like, huh. So I don't know if there's a big twist coming up. Whether I ended up in a different route. Whether I'm destined for a bad ending. Another thing to consider is, what if I goofed up the valves? I'll never know. I presume I did. I would guess I did them correctly, but like I really want to go back and see if I could do them differently now and get a different result. But I won't. I'll just keep going and see what happens. We'll see what ending we get to. We were just killing time. We still couldn't think of any way to escape. Still, we didn't want to feel like we were completely wasting our time. So we all decided to wander around Lamu one more time. This is like this is a pretty good plot summary of the game right here. As we made the rounds, I said something like, "Let's find something decent to eat. No more of those chicken sandwiches from the kiosk." Well, you've already eaten hot dogs. At least in this route you did. And how many people can really ride on the EI that doesn't have enough buoyancy? And made other ridiculous propositions. Everyone was getting a little sick of me, but they still laughed along. We all knew. As long as we were doing something, it kept our minds off things we couldn't change. Like about how there was no way out, or remembering where we were. We decided to meet up at 8 p.m. for dinner. Everyone was left to wander around freely until then. Still an hour to go. As I walked around the second floor, still thinking about what to do, I found myself in front of the infirmary. I thought Tsugumi would still be sleeping in bed. Yeah, Tsugumi's going to have a real hard time because she had sink or swim surgery done on her. And real surgery by someone who went to school for that is tough. How tough would it be recovering from you surgery? Maybe I should check on her. Like, think of the tissue traumatization and scars and stuff. As I stood in front of the sliding door, it opened. I could smell the faint but harsh odor of disinfectant.
あれクラナリどうしたの
The kid is here. Takeshi, what are you doing here? You greeted me with slight surprise as I entered the room. Nothing really, I just thought I'd get some coffee to wake me up. What about you two? What are you and the kid up to? Well, we are just doing our route. It looked like she was in the middle of spreading out tools and parts next to the LMRI scanner. Oh, they're trying to fix the... Oh, right, and you just plug it in. The kid was crouched down by the scanner as well, looking at what appeared to be pages of data.
ああ、やっぱりね。この機械直しておこうかなって思って。
Oh, I thought I'd try to fix this machine after all. Wow, and the kid's helping?
うん、そうだよ。
You got it.
こう見えても彼、頼りになるのよ。図面を読むの早いし。
He's much more helpful than he looks. He's really quick at reading blueprints. Sometimes that happens, where the kid will be strangely good at something. I wonder why that is. Write that down. Oh, I'm out of space on my paper. Kid being really good at things. At things may be plot relevant. And of course, might be related to why Tsugumi was really good at things as well.
さあ、なぜかは僕が聞きたいよ。
That's what I'd like to know. You have no idea?
全然。
Nope, not a clue.
何か理由があるのかもしれないけど。
There might be some reason, but the kid hung his head thinking.
まあまあ、思い詰めなさんなって。今は考えたってさ、しょうがないよ。
Hey, hey, don't worry about it. No use wondering about it now.
そういうのは、いずれ記憶が戻れば自然にわかるんだから。
It'll all make sense anyway when your memory comes back.
少年、そっちの電池取ってくれる？
Hey kid, could you hand me the wrench? Well, that was not very creative.
あ、これかな。
This one?
サンキュー。どっこいしょ。
Yeah, thanks. Here we go. You sat cross-legged on the floor and began to unscrew the cover of the scanner. Hey, I can see up your skirt when you sit like that.
なんだよ、見るなよ。偽物じゃないんだぞ。
Cut it out. Quit looking. This isn't a peep show. All right. I was just joking. I raised both hands and backed away. But you know, while the kid's head is clear, maybe we should tackle some of the trickier problems.
なんで？
Huh? Why? Because what if he hit his head or something and he's only going to be good at this stuff for a little bit? Maybe it jostled his brain cells into action that don't usually get used.
まさか、漫画じゃあるまいし。ねえ、少年。
Oh, please, this is not a comic book, right, kid? I guess that's how some people think autism works. I'm not going to speak on that because I don't claim to know anything about how autism works.
いや、僕に聞かれても。
Listen, don't ask me.
そっか。それもそうね。
Oh, that's right.
ところで、漫画ってなんだっけ？
So what's a manga again?
漫画も忘れたの？
Huh? You forgotten manga?
聞き覚えがかすかにある言葉だとは思うんだけど。
Well, I have a vague sense that I've heard the word before.
漫画の存在を忘れちゃうなんて。あんた今、人生の2割くらいは損してるわ。
Wow, to forget about comic books, you're missing out on about 20% of life right there. Yeah. I keep pointing out that in the Japanese, it sounds like they're saying manga as opposed to comic books. The kid and you continued their strange conversation. I guess in 2002, that might have been appropriate. I would think, like, now, if they translated a Japanese game into English, they would just preserve the word manga because people actually understand what that means now in English. And I started to feel like there were no real reason for me to be there at all. Well, hang in there. I turned my back to leave.
あ、倉成。
Hey, Takeshi. You stood up abruptly and came to stand in front of me.
ねえ、つぐみの様子を見に来たんじゃないの？
You came to check on Tsugumi, right?
つぐみなら、あっちのベッドで寝てるよ。
She's sleeping in that bed over there.
まだ意識は戻らないし、当分体を動かせないし、安静にしてもらわなくちゃいけないけど。
She isn't conscious yet, and of course she can't move her body. She really just needs to rest. And when she does become conscious, she will feel carsick, essentially. Yu was speaking slowly, her eyes cast down. For some reason, her expression hardened.
それから、そんなに自信ないけど、でも、私なりにベストは尽くしたつもりだから。
And it's not that I'm so sure of myself, but still, I've done my best for her.
完全に保証はできないけど、治ってほしいと思ってる。
I can't guarantee that she will, but I want her to get better.
だから、
So we'll just... I know you, and I'm really grateful for what you've done. I looked her straight in the eyes. If you hadn't done the surgery, Tsugumi wouldn't have made it.
でもまだ本当に治るかどうかわからないよ。
We still don't know if she'll really recover. You worry too much. What, don't you trust yourself?
ないよ。
No.
私、専門の医者じゃないんだから。
I'm not a doctor or anything. I don't think that Tsugumi will give up so easily. She'll pull through, I know it. She'll be just like she was before in no time, and giving me a hard time as usual for sure.
そうだね。うん。なんか、私もそんな気がしてきた。
I guess so. Actually, I'm starting to feel the same way. She gave me a small smile. Well then, I guess I'm off to see that mean-spirited girl's face. So, fix that scanner, okay?
任せなさいって。
Just leave it to me. You plopped down again, and she and the kid began grappling with the now coverless scanner. I went toward the bed in the back. Tsugumi was stretched out peacefully. Why is the cast on the wrong bones? Okay. It was probably due to the serious nature of the operation, but she was getting an IV. You could take it out when the operation's over. At least she wasn't hooked up to a respirator. Then again, that could have been because the infirmary didn't have a respirator. They probably just did it. You would do like a sedate in an IV. Which sucks, by the way, if you're ever going to get that. You think, oh, it's just a sedate. No, I've had that happen, and you don't. They intentionally make it so that you don't remember anything from when you were sedated, which is very creepy. But I guess that's what the customer wants. People don't want to remember anything from undergoing the surgery, so it's amnesia-inducing. But I don't find that something I want. I find that just creepy. So I don't know why people want that. Anyway, she was sleeping so serenely. I could almost believe that she would recover quickly. I remembered how she dragged me behind her as she ran through the aquarium, how tough she was, so much stamina. She lay under a white blanket. Her right foot was completely covered with a brace and bandages. I couldn't tell what kind of condition it was in. Ah. I realized something as I neared the bed. The smell of antiseptic that I had first recognized when I came into the room. It was still strong and harsh around the bed. I looked down at the floor, and it was as if the tiles were blurring, changing color. It's the color of her blood. It was the raw, brutal traces of the surgery. I gently squeezed Tsugumi's hand, which was peeping out from under the blanket. Well, that's not what the CG depicts, but okay. I'm sorry. It was my fault that this had happened to her. If she doesn't make it, it wasn't the kind of thing made better by an apology. And even if she did recover, what would I say to her face? It would only be natural for her to hit me or yell at me. So sorry. All I could do was repeat it over and over to Tsugumi, who couldn't even answer.
倉成さん。
Takeshi? There was a voice behind me. Letting go of Tsugumi's hand, I quickly whirled around. Hey, Sora. Sora had suddenly appeared behind me.
小町さんは当分目を覚まさないと思いますよ。
It is unlikely that Tsugumi will wake up for a while.
まだ麻酔も効いているはずですし、今はそっとしておくのが一番です。
The anesthetic is still in effect. It is probably best to leave her alone right now. Yeah, I suppose you're right.
ところで倉成さん、これからお時間ありますか？
So, Takeshi, are you free right now? Who, me?
はい。よろしかったら少しお話ししたいなと思いまして。
Is it gonna funnel me into a Sora route? Yes, it is alright. I would like to talk to you. Talk about what?
それはですね、
Well, you see,
内緒です。
it's a secret. She laughed a little. Sora wants to keep something secret. I was a little shocked.
ここだとなんですから、外行きませんか？
This room is, well, why don't we go outside? I won't go back to this decision right away, but I'm going to put a save file there just in case once I hit an ending for Takeshi, I want to go right back to this decision. I think this decision is going to. This decision you would think would be really important. Put Sora's face. Because if I go, I have this conversation with Sora. Though it could lead me down the Sora path. If I don't go, then what Sora says could be false, and Tsugumi could just wake up. So it would there's a lot of differentiation could happen right here. Now I'm gonna do hit go because that makes the most sense. Just as a decision in the real world, that's the choice I would make. And I like to do that on my first playthrough with these choice games. I like to make the choice that more like I would make, but probably don't go is more interesting. Go is like what I would do. Don't go is probably more interesting. It makes it kind of hard to decide here. Go. Okay, where are you going?
イルカ、
To the dolphins.
カルセルデルフィーネに。私あそこが好きなんです。
To the dolphin carousel. I like that place. All right, let's go. We left the infirmary. You and the kid were looking at me with curious expressions on their faces. What's up with them? Looking like they were just a bit on the butt of something. On the butt by something. Maybe Sora told them to plug in the power. Sora answered me with an amused laugh.
倉成さんが独り言を言ってると思われたんですね。
They thought you were talking to yourself. Huh? Okay. No, wait, why? I was talking with you.
内緒の話をするって言ったでしょ？
Didn't I say that I wanted to talk to you about something secret? Huh? Oh, now I get it. I'm dense. Apparently you and the kid couldn't see Sora. We reached the dolphin carousel. The circling dolphin stood still in the silence.
静かですね。
It's so quiet.
ここ連日のにぎわいがまるで全部嘘だったように思います。
Sometimes it seems that the everyday hubbub is all an empty lie. Sora spoke quietly.
すいません。不適切な発言でした。不謹慎ですね。
I apologize, that was inappropriate. It doesn't fit the moment. No, I don't mind. If I had known about this place days before. Yeah, if I had seen it back in the days when it was full of people, I'd probably be thinking the same thing. Sora, how long have you been here at Lemu?
私が実用レベルで稼働したのは2011年の4月です。
I started working at a functional level in April of 2011.
それ以来ということになります。
So, since then. 6 years, huh?
ええ、そうですね。
Yes, that is correct.
2223日。
2,223 days. So yesterday was 2222. Interesting. Sora narrowed her eyes. She was nearly overcome by some feeling. Could it be nostalgia? It didn't seem like a programmed emotion. She must treasure memories of this place. We gazed at the figures of the silent dolphins for a while. So listen, Sora. I broke in hoping it was the right moment.
はい、何でしょう。
Yes, what is it? You said you had to talk to me about a secret. Are you ready to tell me about it?
あ、そうでしたね。
Oh, yes, that's right. However, I would have done so eventually if you hadn't, been so impatient. She straightened and turned to face me. Then suddenly her face shone as she did.
倉成さん、鬼ごっこしませんか？
Takeshi, shall we play tag? What?
昨日の闇鬼、とっても面白かったんです。
The can was so much fun yesterday.
だから、私と鬼ごっこしませんか？
So won't you play tag with me? Tag? I couldn't quite grasp the connection.
さあ、倉成さん、私を
Come on, Takeshi, you have to.
捕まえてみてください。
Try and catch me. She casually floated up off the ground and moved off as if she were gliding. Hey, wait a minute, Sora.
ほら、こっちですよ。
Come on, this way. Where'd you go? I mean, looked around for her.
ここですってば。
Right here.
こっちです。
Over here.
どこ見てるんですか？
Where are you looking? She would flicker into view here and there and then disappear again. Hey, you.
こっちこっち。
This way, this way.
どうしたんですか？
What's the matter?
私はここですよ。
I'm right here. Laughing, she would show herself in one place and then disappear. Oh, come on, what is this? First place, you know as well as I do. There's no way I can catch you. No matter what I do, I can't grab hold of you.
え、そうなんですか？
Sora-A. Here we go. What, really? Here goes the Mahiki.
そんな、
No, surely not.
そうでしたか。私知りませんでした。
I see, I didn't realize that. So, yeah, earlier in the game, Sora said that she's programmed so that she can't be at multiple places at the same time. Well, and also it was hinted at that she could lie. Yeah, she lied. First lie of Sora. She was playing dumb. Sora had split into 3 images. What the heck? What happened to you, Sora?
あら、どうしちゃったんでしょう。
What could it be? She shrugged exaggeratedly. All 3 leaned toward me at the same time.
私変ですか？
Do you think I'm strange?
どうにかなってますか？
Is there something wrong with me? I'm the one that should be asking that question. What the heck is going on here? Hee hee.
なんだか自分でもよくわからなくなってきました。
I don't even know myself anymore. What's going on?
とってもふわふわしてて、いい気持ちです。
I feel happy and fluffy. She was floating around like someone who was slightly drunk. I started to worry. Sora, are you okay? Takeshi just doesn't play along. Typical, I don't like this guy. You're sure you're not sick or tired? Oh, I hate this character. Why? Nothing bad's happened, has it? Maybe we should get Lemay to check you out, or make sure there's not some serious error. Takeshi, you don't understand this plot, do you? Yeah, this game would turned left hard. It was like, up, Sora route.
もう、倉成さんたら、
Why, Takeshi? She pursed her mouth and took a huge sigh. Then suddenly she appeared right in front of me in a slightly troubled pose. She didn't move, and there was only one of her.
わかりました。
All right.
意地悪するのはこれくらいにしておきます。
I will stop playing around with you. Playing around?
ええ、
Yes.
今のはちょっとした冗談です。
That was just a little joke.
そろそろ本題に入りますね。
Now for the reason I brought you here. I shook my head, putting my fingers against my temples. Seeing that, Sora smiled at me. Without making any noise at all, the dolphins began quietly circling again. I leaned against a handy artificial rock with the mascot pasted on it. Sora stood at attention once again and began speaking slowly.
昨日のお話の続きです。
This is the continuation of our conversation yesterday.
私という存在が世界に一つしかない理由。
The reason that there is only one being like me in the world.
制作者のポリシーだとお話ししたと思います。
I think I told you that it was the policy of my creator.
独立した一つの統合された人格であるために、私の能力にはあえて制限が設けてあるのです。
In order to give me a united individual personality, there are restrictions on my faculties.
しかし、理論上は複数の私が同時に存在できます。
However, according to theory, several of me can exist at the same time.
先ほどお見せした通りです。
Just like I showed you before.
もう一回見ますか？
Shall I show you again? No thanks, I'm still recovering.
じゃあ、もうしないことにしておきます。
Hehe, alright, I won't do it anymore. It's like, oh, come on, Takeshi. Really? She stopped there. She seemed to be thinking about something, then took a deep breath and continued.
さっきのあれ、
Just now,
どれが私か分かりましたか？
could you tell which one was me? Huh?
どれが私でしょう？
Which one was me? Well, so the several versions of you, they're all different?
いいえ、ありません。
No. Well, then they're all the same. They're all the same Sora.
正解。
Correct. She smiled.
そう。どれも私。
Yes, they're all me.
純粋なコピー。いえ、クローンと言った方が分かりやすいかもしれませんね。
Perfect copies. No, perhaps it is easier to understand if I use the word clones. Oh, that's how cloning comes up. I wouldn't have guessed that, actually.
倉成さんは2010年に改正交付されたクローン法についてご存知ですか？
Takeshi, are you aware of the clone law that was officially amended in 2010? Yes, I have, because I've played Ever17. Yes, I know of it. In 2010? Human cloning, which has been prohibited until then, was recognized under law. However, I thought in Ever7 that it was made legal in 2000, not 2010. Once they had approval of the authorities, anyone could undergo clone fertilization as a way to treat infertility. The nucleus is taken from an already cultivated somatic cell and then inserted into an egg that has its original nucleus removed. Then is implanted into the mother's womb. One of my friend's relatives went through it.
だったら、クローンについての説明はいりませんね。
Well, then you don't need an explanation about cloning. Well, but you see, making another copy of a person isn't really the same as projecting multiple copies of something that's of like a simulation. But what does that have to do with this? Clones develop separately. In other words, they are different entities. They're not the same person. They're more like twins.
でも、その由来は単一です。
But their source is the same. Right, it's the same haploid cells, ultimately. She spoke almost casually.
話を戻しますね。
Let's go back to what we were talking about. Yeah, but they build, like, the egg's a stem cell. It builds a whole new brain. So, it's whole completely separate brain. You have the same brain powering the... Well, whatever. Let's go back to what we were talking about. Then she branched into her several selves again, this time 4 of them. And she'd said she wouldn't do it anymore. Sure enough, I was dizzy.
この等しく分けられた私。
This me, evenly divided.
すべてが茜ヶ崎空なのです。
Are all Sora Akanegasaki.
そこには私がいますが、同時にここにいる私はそこにはいない。
That me is not there. And at the same time, this me is not there.
ここに私がいて、けれど向こうの私とは違う私。
Here, the me over there is a different me.
しかし、私であることに変わりはない私。
But they are all me, the same me.
すべて 私。
all me,
そうだとすれば、
which means
私は単一であると同時に多数になる。
I am one, yet at the same time, I am many. So, I'm not super familiar with Hinduism, but I understand there are many like spiritual entities. There's like Shiva and Vishnu, and some of them like have children, and there's like marriages, and it's kind of complicated. But it's all Brahma. So all of them together make up this one thing called Brahma. And one of my high school history teachers, when she questioned someone who practiced Hinduism on this, they said, "Well, I don't know who." They said, "Well, I don't know why this is so confusing to you. I mean, consider the Judeo-Christian God. You have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. They're all one. They are all God." And she said, "Yeah, but you don't have like marriages and like children inside. I know we call God the Son, but it's like he is from the beginning of time is God. It's not like and then he incarnated down. It's not like he began as a marriage between God and Mary, right? He just was God, and then he incarnates down. Anyway, it seems like Uchikoshi is trying to reference things like the Trinity or Hinduism or something like that. Now, those are very different from each other, even though I try to lump them into a category because I don't know which Uchikoshi is trying to refer to, because he probably didn't practice either. So he probably thinks of them as similar, even though I do not. But anyway.
私はあらゆる場所、どこにでもいる存在になる。
I can be at any place, exist everywhere.
私は偏在している。
I am omnipresent.
ええ、そうです。
Yes, that's right.
同じ空間の中に、時間の中に、複数の私が存在できるのです。
Several of me existing in the same place at the same time.
例えば、倉成さんの前とココちゃんの前、
For example, in front of you and in front of Coco.
あそことここに2人の私がいる。
There and here, there are two of me.
けれどそれは決してダブルではなく、
They are definitely not W.
Y なのです。
But why? I?
ある由来からいでて分かれた Y。
Why? Because we split from our source, branching off. Sora danced around in midair. Her other images multiplied and disappeared. It was impossible even to tell their size, amount, or distance. Maybe this is kind of analogous to this branch structure of the game.
そうですね。考えてみてください。
You see, please think of it this way.
もしもあなたという人格をそっくりそのままコピーすることができるとしたら、
But if you could be copied exactly just the way you are. Time travel! Here we go! What is she saying?
例えば
For instance,
あなたの脳に刻まれたすべての記憶、考え方、感じ方、人格、性格、感情、
or it's not like time travel is as much as branching timelines, but I've read novels where time travel is described as copying yourself, because you go back in time, then now there's two of you at a time, right? There's you was originally at that time, and then you that went back. So you made two copies, and then you change time you do a change that potentially means you don't go back in time. Well, what happens is you just continue to exist past that point as double, where one has memories of the unchanged timeline and then went back in time, and the other one has memories of the changed timeline. And of course, the one that went back in time would be slightly older, or a lot older, depending on how far back in time you went. But I think what they're going in here is you make a decision. Like, is she's doing like a quantum suicide thing, like, but you make a decision and then two timelines branch off. And they both exist because this is like one of those Uchakoshi style games, like a Zero Escape style thing where all timelines exist, and you can even, well, I'm not going to spoil that, but whatever.
それらすべての情報を正確に忠実に摘出することができたとして、
In other words, your whole intelligence could be perfectly, exactly extracted. This might be what Leiblich is studying.
それを何らかの記憶媒体に複製し、しかもその機能を再現できるとしたら、
And then duplicated in some kind of storage medium, reproducing all of your abilities.
その時本当のあなたはどこにいるでしょうか。
Then where is the real you?
肉体に残ったままの人格が本当のあなた？
The you who stays in your body, is that the real you?
それとも複製した人格が本当のあなた？
Is the duplicate character, in fact, you? Wait, one of these timelines is real and the other is a is like Takeshi's route real, and then the kid's a simulation? Whatever.
正解はそのいずれにも本当のあなたがいるです。
The answer is, in any case, the real you does exist in both.
もしそのようなことが可能になったら、
If such a thing were possible,
あなたは非原数分裂的に分裂するでしょう。
you would split in a form of non-meiotic division, which I don't know why she used that word. It's mitotic division.
つまりリンゴを2つに割るような分裂の仕方ではなく、
In other words, it is not the same as splitting an apple into two.
そのリンゴと同じ質量、同じ形、同じ成分を持ったリンゴがもう一つ誕生するということです。
It is as if another apple with the exact same mass, shape, and composition comes into being.
その時あなたは2つになるでしょう。
That happens, you become two. Sora got rid of all but one extra body and stood in front of me. Now there were two copies of Sora before me. There was no way to tell which was the original. Just hear more. But why is Sora telling me all this? I wondered but kept quiet and listened.
そう、あなたは2つになった。
Yes, you became two. The two Soras were speaking in unison.
歴史的にはその瞬間から2人のあなたは別々の個体として時間軸上を歩んでいくことになります。
Historically, and from that moment forward, the two of you traveled down the same time axis as separate entities.
けれどその道のりを振り返ってみれば2つのあなたはある一点で結ばれていたことがわかるはずです。
Turn around and look at the journey you have taken. You will see that at one point the two of you were joined together.
それがつまり Y なのです。 W ではなく Y。
It is like a Y with two options, with two points emerging from one line, not a W with two separate points of origin.
あるポイントを起点として別々に分かれていく2つの自分をあなたは想像できないかもしれません。
You may be unable to imagine two of yourself, splitting apart and going different ways at a particular moment, which we will use as a reference point.
しかしそれはすでに起こっていることなのです。
But that is something that has already happened.
あなたは常に絶え間なく訪れては過ぎ去っていく瞬間の中で何らかの選択を迫られています。
You are always incessantly approaching a choice in each present moment that becomes the past the instant you visit it.
A の道を行くか B の道を行くか。
Will you choose path A? Will you choose path B?
ここにいるあなたが A の道を歩んできたとしても別の時間軸上では B の道を歩んできたあなたが存在するかもしれません。
Which choice is she referring to? Mystery. The you that is standing here may have come down path A, but in another time axis, there may be a you who is going down path B.
そして A の道のあなたも B の道のあなたもあなたであることに変わりはない。
And both the you on path A and the you on path B are both still you.
ただ A の道にいるあなたは B の道にいるあなたのことを知りません。
Except that the you on path A doesn't know about the you on path B.
知る手段がないからです。
Because there is no way to know.
同様に B の道にいるあなたも A の道にいるあなたのことには気づかないでしょう。
In the same way, the you on path B probably isn't aware of the you on path A either.
なぜだかわかりますか？
Do you? I mean, I've played the kid. I'm gonna say I do know. It's obvious, I answered. You just stated that there is no way to know. There is no means in existence to let my A self see my B self. For a person to see a three-dimensional body, they have to receive flattened visual information from two eyes, and the brain has to make sense of it. In the same way, to know that both A and B of yourselves exist, you'd have to move to a perspective completely outside the Y. Like, for example, the person playing the game. You have to go to the meta. Even if you understand it intellectually, you can't actually confirm that A and B both exist.
そうです。
That's right.
素晴らしいですね。倉成さん、素質があるんじゃないですか？
Wonderful, Takeshi. You might be a natural at this. At what?
物理学者、あるいは哲学者の。
Physics, or perhaps even philosophy. You don't have to flatter me. Sora held her hand up in the air. I could see a holograph. A board appeared in midair and neatly folded itself into a square. Then a point of light appeared and started moving.
仮に二次元の世界に知的生命体がいるとしましょう。
Let's say that there are intelligent beings in a two-dimensional world.
彼は三次元の立体を見ることができますか？
Can they see a three-dimensional object?
いいえ、彼にはできません。
No, they cannot. The square changed into a cube.
なぜなら、二次元的な存在である彼は、平面上で起こった出来事しか知覚することができないからです。
The reason is, since they only exist in two dimensions, they can only perceive those things which happen on a plane.
二次元存在の視野には直線しか映りませんから。
In a two-dimensional field of vision, only straight lines, one dimension, can be reflected. The dots of light were now on all six faces of the cube. But each light only moved around the surface of its own square, never intersecting with the other lights.
さて、何らかの理由で彼が三次元的存在に変化したとしましょう。
Now then, let's say for some reason they become three-dimensional.
すると、三次元的存在である彼の視野には平面しか映らなくなるはずです。
Then, in their three-dimensional range of vision, only three planes, two dimensions, can be reflected. The lights from the six surfaces gathered together to become one and moved to the center of the cube. And in every direction, new holographs of cubes appeared. The cubes lined up surface to surface, without even a crevice between them.
三次元における立体視は、左目に映った平面と右目に映った平面を合成しているに過ぎません。
Three-dimensional sight, all that happens is that the plane reflected in the right eye and the plane reflected in the left eye are synthesized into one image.
精巧に緻密に描かれた富士山の描き割りと本物の富士山の映像を近づくことなしに見分けることはできないでしょう。
It would be impossible to achieve something close to the real image of Mount Fuji, for example, even with a finely drawn backdrop. A light floated in each of the cubes. The lights moved incessantly, vigorously, colliding into the six faces of the cubes and moving. But each light never left its cube and never intersected with any of the other lights.
繰り返しますが、
Shall we go over it again?
平面としての情報を同時に二方向から入手することによって立体を知覚していると錯覚しているだけなのです。
By combining two-dimensional information coming in at the same time from two different sources, you are really just hallucinating that you are perceiving a solid form.
それは三次元的な視覚とは呼べません。
That is not true three-dimensional vision.
三次元的な視覚とはサイコロの6面すべてを同時に見ることができる視覚のことを言うのです。
This is a little different take than Yu's take. Three-dimensional vision is when you can see all six sides of a cube at the same time.
N 次元存在には N-1 次元の視覚情報しか得られない。
In an N dimension, you can only obtain visual information in the dimension of N-1.
ですから Y の字の先端にいる存在はもう一方の先端にいる存在のことに気づけないのです。
I believe it's actually more complicated. Embedding is not like you can just embed it in -1, but whatever. It works for like 1 to 4 dimensions or whatever. This is why you're on top of the Y shape. It means that you cannot be aware of what is happening at the other tip.
もしも彼が三次元的視野を獲得したとき、
Let's say that you did obtain a 3-dimensional range of vision.
つまり二次元平面から脱出して三次元空間内からその平面を見下ろしたときに、
So, if you escape the plane of second dimensionality and then you look down from a 3-dimensional space at the 2-dimensional plane, I would call that a flowchart.
その時初めて自分が Y の字の一部であったことに気づき、
You would realize for the first time that you were at a particular point on the Y.
さらに枝分かれしたもう一人の自分がいることにも気づけるのです。
Realize too that there could be another you that took a different path on the Y. Holographic cues broke apart and then disappeared. Suddenly, my field of vision was filled with dazzling white light. With bubbles! Sora looked distorted. Then she split into countless versions of herself. I couldn't see anything but Sora's. I couldn't stand or hold my eyes open. Which one was she? Was she all of them? All I see is snow.
そうしてこれは三次元空間においても同じことです。
You see, it's the same for a 3-dimensional space.
あなたが四次元的視野を獲得したとき、
And you acquire 4-dimensional vision.
つまり倉成さんが三次元空間から脱出して四次元空間内からその空間を見下ろしたとき、
In other words, if you escape this 3-dimensional space, look down on it from a 4th-dimensional space.
その時初めて自分がサイの字の一部であったことに気づき、
You'll realize for the first time that you are on one point of the Y.
さらに枝分かれした他の自分がいることにも気づけるのです。
Realize too that there is another you who took a different branch of the Y.
異なった歴史、異なった世界、異なった空間の中に、
In a different history, in a different world, in a different place. Tsugumi was not injured.
別の自分自身が存在するということが分かってもらえたでしょうか。
Another you exists. Do you understand this?
世界に自己は偏在しているのです。
You are omnipresent in the world.
あなたと同様に私という存在も偏在しています。
In the same way, so am I.
あなたも私と同じ
You and I.
単一から分かれた Y
We are just branches of the Y.
ですが、
However,
偏在する自己は一つになれるのです。
these divided selves can become one. Sora stopped dividing herself. The brightness faded and then was gone. A single Sora quietly fluttered down to stand before me. The dolphins behind us had stopped their revolutions at some point.
あなたの知らないあなたがあなた自身と不可分の存在になれるとしたら、
If the self you don't know were to become inseparably bound with you,
あなた自身が他のあらゆるあなたを把握できる位置に立って全てを見通せたとしたら、
if you could stand in a place where you could see and understand all the others that were you,
全てのあなたの体験はあなた一人の体験に等しくなる。
then all the experiences of your other selves would become like your own existence.
あなたは本当の意味でたった一つの存在になる。
In true sense, you could become one being with one experience. I let out a long sigh. Listen, can I just ask you one thing?
どうぞ。
Please do. Why are you telling all this to me?
いい質問ですね。
That's a good question. That's part of the project. It's a secret. Sora turned in a full circle right where she was and smiled.
伝説ですよ。
It is a legend.
このレミューの由来のレムリア大陸に伝わる伝説です。
Of the origins of Lemu, it is the legend passed down to the Lemurian continent.
そういうことにしておいてください。
Let's just leave it at that.
内緒ですよ。
As you must understand, it's a secret. Sora put a finger on her lips and smiled once again. We met at the scheduled we met at the chicken sandwich stand at 8 as scheduled. In the end, I didn't fix anything for dinner.
それにしてもさ、たけし、
Hey, Takeshi. What?
竜田サンド以外の食べ物は作れないの？
Can't you fix anything besides chicken sandwiches? Well, there's not much I can do about that. There wasn't much at this kiosk except chicken sandwiches to start with. I cooked all the hot dogs this morning, so they're finished. The owner probably just kept them for a little variation.
そっか。
Really? The kid held the sandwich wrapped in his right hand and twisted it around his fingertip. The half-eaten sandwich remained in his left hand, not getting any smaller. It didn't seem like he couldn't finish it.
どうしたの？冷めないうちに食べなよ。
What's your deal? Eat up before it gets cold. Yu was done eating and she peered at the kid's face.
うん。
Yeah.
しばらく探して歩いたけど、結局他の食べ物は見つからなかったね。
You must have walked all over looking something else to eat. But it was no use after all, huh? You didn't find the giant frozen tuna?
通路に流されてた食材は、もうあらかたダメになってた。
The food washed into the corridors during the flooding is almost all spoiled anyway.
まあ、それでも竜田サンドだけはここに嫌というほど材料もあるし、いつでも食べられるんだからいいじゃない。
That's okay because we've more stuff to make chicken sandwiches than you could imagine.
それもそうだね。
I guess that's true. The kid tore off a piece of the sandwich and shoved it in his mouth.
食べられるものが確実にあるってのは、サバイバルにおいては重要なことなんだよ。
To survive, it's crucial that you have something to eat. Hey, it looks like he got the picture. Yeah, it looks like we've got a real survivor on our hands.
そうだよ。
Yep, that's right. You answered shortly. Huh?
ちょっとした趣味でね。私、時々一人で山に入ったりするの。
Yeah, just a little hobby of mine. Sometimes I go into the mountains alone.
道なき道をかき分けて、たまに迷子になったりするんだけど。
I carve my own path, sometimes even get a bit lost. Into the mountains alone. What, are you training some ancient fighting art on the sly?
ちょっと蔵なり、なんでそうなるのよ。
Geez, Takeshi, why do you have to get like that? Yeah, out fighting the black bears under the winter moon.
違うって、温泉よ温泉。人巡り。
Nope, I hunt out hot springs that nobody knows about.
前人未到の地に幻の湯を求めて3000里。いいわよね。これぞ女のロマンって感じ。
Yeah, deep in the mountains, someplace no one else has ever been. Oh, that is this girl's kind of romantic. You wiggled as if intoxicated by the image. Oh, now I get it. You are soaking in the hot springs with a bear.
違うっての。いい加減月のワグマから離れなさいよ。
Oh, no, would you shut up about bears already? Are there even bears in Japan? Hehe. So despite appearances, you're really wild at heart.
あら、何かおっしゃいまして？おほほほほほ。
You be suggesting, oh hehe. Well, you doesn't like Takeshi, so it doesn't matter anyway. You drew herself up in an exaggerated fashion. Oh yeah, you talked about stitching up your own finger. I suppose that was also while you were out searching for hot springs?
あ、うん、ちょっとね。
Huh? Oh yeah, I suppose.
でも、表面はほんの数針くらいだよ。
It was just a surface scratch and I only needed a few stitches. Just like I thought. Bear wrestling.
しつこい。
Just give it up! You turned red-faced as she exploded. Hehe.
ああ、もう、本当に。
I can't take this anymore. You let out a sigh and turned away from me. I suppose she was fed up. Maybe I got a little carried away. But Yu's face clouded over a bit. Teasing her could have gotten her that down. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to read couldn't have gotten her that down. Just as I was thinking that, you avoided my eyes and muttered,
ねえ、倉成
Hey, Takeshi.
つぐみのことなんだけど。
About Tsugumi. It seemed like she wanted to say something, but she didn't know what to say. What's up? What is it?
ああ、うん。それがね。
Just then we heard the sounds of people running through the water towards us. Splish, splash, splish, splash. Hey, what's up? Ow, ow. Hey, Coco, you about ready to eat?
走り回ってたらお腹減ってきた。
Yeah, all that running around has made me starved. Worf. That's right, I remembered she was the only one who hadn't eaten yet. I handed Coco the last chicken sandwich I had kept in the food warmer.
それじゃ、いただきます。
Alright, time to eat.
へい、ガブイ。
Yay, chow time.
おいしい。
Oh, this is yummy. We still haven't resolved what exactly the dog eats.
マグロ竜田揚げと醤油マヨネーズのハーモニーが絶妙です。
This blend of soy sauce, mayonnaise, and fried chicken is perfect. Yum supreme. My American eyes are very tainted. I'm like, what? The chicken sandwich, I think it's got either pickles or like lettuce and a tomato. Not mayonnaise. Put mayonnaise on a chicken sandwich. I mean, it wouldn't taste bad if you did. Like, it's just that you usually don't.
絶妙です。ね、翔ちゃん。
Yeah, kiddo, this is divine, isn't it? Coco shot the question to the kid who was standing in front of the store.
あ、うん。
Yeah, sure.
でも、ちょっと飽きてきたかな。
I'm getting a little tired of it. A last bit of unfinished sandwich remained in his left hand.
そう？
Really?
これをかけるとさらに美味しいかも。
Put some of this on, it'll be even better.
え？あ！
Oh, what is that?
むにむにむにむに。
Comes. Coco pulled out a tube she had hidden behind her back, held it over the kid's sandwich, and squeezed. What the heck is that?
サワークリーム。
Sour cream. Again, it wouldn't taste bad per se, but it's not usually what you want to put on your chicken sandwich.
サラダ用のやつがお土産の売店に1個だけあったの。
It's supposed to be for salads. It was the last one at the gift shop. The tube said, add some spice to your life. And crab-flavored crab-flavored cream sauce, mild. So it's not actually sour cream. What? That could really broaden your culinary horizons. Yep. She doused her sandwich with the sour cream, opened her mouth wide, and shoved it in.
おいしい。
Delicious.
これは絶妙のさらに上を行く絶妙です。
It doesn't get any better than this. Crab-flavored cream sauce. Huh. Is that a thing? If you Google it, you get sauce to put on crab, not crab-flavored sauce. Okay. The kid looked at her doubtfully before taking a bite.
あ、確かに
Not bad.
絶妙かも。
This might be what it needed. Yeah, so it has mayonnaise and sour cream, or something like sour cream, but crab flavored in the same bite.
でしょ？絶妙の絶妙っしょ？
Told you, yummy yummy. Woof. With that, both Coco and the kid covered their sandwiches with cream before polishing them off.
ねえ
Takepyon. Coco called to Takeshi while crumbling up her sandwich wrapper. Huh?
つぐみんの分はどうしよっか。サンド。
What are you going to do with Tsugumi's sandwich?
できたらココが持っていこうか。
How about I hold on to it for her? Oh, well, I made it for her and I had stuck it in the warmer to keep for her. But then again,
ごめんね、ココ。
sorry, Coco.
つぐみはまだ寝てるの。しばらく起きないから。
Tsugumi's still asleep. She won't wake up for a while, so you gave Coco a pat on the head.
そうなの？
Is that right?
うん。疲れてるだろうし。今はね、もうちょっと寝かせてあげて。
Yep, I'll bet she's pretty tired. Let's let her sleep a bit longer.
ふーん。
She'll just be sleeping forever until she suddenly duex machinas into something. With no explanation.
じゃあ、つぐみんが起きたら食べてもらおうね。
Okay, then she can eat it later after she wakes up. Huh?
ちゃんと取っておきましょう。つまみ食いしちゃダメだよ。
Let's save it for her. No snacking on it on either. Coco pointed to the sandwich nestled deep in the food warmer. So she'd noticed it. All right, roger that.
よろしい。
Great.
じゃあ、ココは食後の運動してきます。
Okay, time for some after meal exercise. Bow wow, Woon Woof.
あ、待って。僕も行くよ。
Hey, hold on. I want to go too. Okay. Is there a ski org hidden in the facility somewhere? Coco, the kid, and Pee-Pee ran towards the rest area together. You and I watched them from behind. Oh, by the way, you. Is Tsugumi resting up?
ああ、実はさっき、救護室に寄って、ちょっと様子を見てきたんだ。
Yeah, actually, I just stopped by the infirmary to check on her. How is she?
私は、専門の医者じゃないから、具体的なことは言えないけど、
Not a medical expert or anything, so I can't say anything specific.
回復は、今のところ順調よ。
She seems to be recuperating. Satisfactory progress, I think.
順調すぎるくらい。
Maybe too satisfactory. What do you mean by too satisfactory? Because she's a freak.
なんて言ったらいいんだろう。
I really don't know how to put it. You suddenly stopped talking and let her head fall forward. Well, if her condition is stable, that's good, isn't it? The operation went well, right? Well, there's been some hints that it didn't. Yeah, it's definitely something went wrong. And we could tell that from the beginning, from the first conversation with you when she walked out of the infirmary. What's up with you? Lose your confidence somewhere or something?
そうじゃないんだけど。
No, it's not that. I accidentally put her leg back on upside down.
そうだね。そうそう。
Yeah, that's it. You lifted her head as if she had just realized something.
確かに、私はちょっと自信なかったけど、つぐみはちゃんと回復してる。
Perhaps I've lost some of my confidence, but I know Tsugumi is recovering.
生命力ってやつよね。
Life force is an amazing thing, huh?
まあ、そうそう、死にはしないのよね。人間って。
You know, humans don't die so easily. Well, humans sometimes surprise you with not dying, but then sometimes surprise you with their fragility. So I'll keep it balanced. You smiled when she said that. After dinner, when we finished cleaning up, we made our way to the rest area. 4 stone statues were lined up in one corner of the area. One of them extended a hand pointing toward the south. One reached toward the east. Another looked to the heavens while reaching a hand upward. The remaining figure had both hands pressed to its chest and eyes closed. I wondered if there were some kind of meaning to all of it. There definitely is. I asked you, but she just shook her head unknowingly. It looked like Coco, the kid, and Pee-Pee were running amongst the figures as they played.
ところで、空はどこ行ったのかな？
By the way, I wonder where Sora went. Hey, you're right. Now that you mentioned it, Sora was here until just before we ate.
制御室に入ったままなのかな？
Maybe she's still in the control room.
たまーにだけど、空ってレミのコンソールの中に潜ってしばらく出てこなくなるのよね。
It only happens once in a while, but sometimes she'll dive into Lem's main console and not come out for quite a while. Really?
仕事熱心みたいだからね、空。
No, she's just talking to Takeshi, but, Akechi is a different character from a very overrated game. Anyway, feels like she get pretty caught up in her work. I wondered if that all it was.
じゃあ私、行って様子見てくるよ。
Well, I'll go check it out. All right, you do that. With that, she ran out a nearby exit and down the corridor. As for me, after a quick stretch, I let my eyes follow Coco and the others. The same two people and one critter were circling about the stone statues. It seemed they were playing a game of chase, not really caring who was it. Without seeming to get bored, they kept running around and around in the same place. On the other hand, I got restless watching them. Phew, what a sight. It looked kind of fun, but I didn't quite feel like asking to join in. I let my eyes roam around. Whoa! Sora, so that's where you were. After an unexplained disappearance, Sora was now standing next to a nearby flower bed.
ええ、少し前からここにいました。
Yes, I have been here for a little while.
花を眺めていたんです。
I've been looking at the flowers. I looked around at the flowers. In the flower bed, short roses, marigolds, and marguerites, I don't know how to pronounce that, marguerites, were all planted together. Yeah, but they sure don't seem to be doing very well.
そうですね。
I see what you mean. Nobody had watered them for the past several days. The soil was dry, its surface cracked. The flowers had wilted and the plants were beginning to dry up.
生命とは不思議な現象です。
Life is sure a strange phenomena. Sora muttered to herself as she gazed at the flowers.
種から芽が出て成長し、花を咲かせ、受精し、種を実らせ、土に帰る。
Bud sprouts from a seed, a flower blossoms, reproduces, a seed matures and returns to the earth.
その種から再び芽が出て成長し、花を咲かせ、受精し、種を実らせ、土に帰る。
From seed comes another bud, another flower, which blossoms and reproduces a new seed, which in turn returns to the earth.
その繰り返し。
So on, just like that.
生命とは何のためにあるのでしょう。
And the most profound thing is each individual dies, but yet the species keeps continuing, and so the cells continue to divide and make more of themselves. But that process involves these individuals dying. It's like you don't live forever, but you come from cells that are very old, and you will produce more cells that will continue to go for a very long time. Unless you don't. For which that, for you, would be a big loss.
花は何のために咲くのでしょう。
Why do flowers bloom? I was unable to reply at once. The flat and boring answer is attract bees. Why indeed did flowers bloom?
理由はともかくとしても、生命とはとても素晴らしい現象だと思います。
Whatever the reason or purpose, I think life is a wonderful thing.
けなげに咲いている花を見るとき、私は不思議な感動を覚えるのです。
I see a flower struggling to exist, growing from a crack in the concrete. I have a strange and wonderful feeling. Have you actually seen that? That's outside Lemu.
花はいつでも必死に生きようとしている。
Flowers are always striving desperately to live.
こんな海の底で、光や二酸化炭素の乏しい環境で、
Even in an environment such as this, in the depths of the ocean without enough light or carbon dioxide.
しかもこんな風に乾ききった土の上でさえ、
even in such parched and cracked soil.
花は決して諦めようとせず、見事に咲き誇ろうと努力している。
They never even think of giving up, but just struggle courageously to live. Of course, this is supposed to make you think of Tsugumi.
その姿勢が胸を打つのでしょうか。
Doesn't it inspire you?
いいえ、
Maybe not.
きっと意味や目的なんて花には何の関係もないことなんでしょうね。
Maybe it's no use contemplating the meaning or purpose of flowers. Sora glanced at the ceiling. I followed suit, also looking up. Huh? The shrill sound of a siren rang out loudly. Tiny sensors hidden in the openings of the ceiling panels were moving wildly. Once again, I heard the sound of flowing water coming from somewhere. No way, it can't be another flood. Fwa. Mass amounts of water rained down from the ceiling. The drops poured down upon us mercilessly. Soon after, we were suffused in a heavy mist. Of course, it's just watering the flowers. Sora's appearance changed to that of a rainbow. What in the world? Hey Sora, what's going on? I tried to steady myself while asking. However, it seemed that a smile hovered over Sora's mouth. Sora? I looked up again, checking the ceiling. The drops of water were everywhere. I couldn't see much due to the fine mist. But... oh, it's sprinklers, huh? Sora nodded without speaking. Water. I sipped water from my cupped hands, both tasting and testing it in my mouth. The water from the sprinklers was neither a liquid to extinguish fires nor seawater. Ah, this is filtered water.
はい、
Yes.
館内水道用の真水です。
This complex uses the purest possible water. That's not necessarily the best, though. What that means... perhaps it's meant for watering these flowers? Sora gave a small grin and laughed. She laughed but didn't answer. The ceiling was designed so the water sprayed down perfectly on the roses and other flowers below. Not long after that...
ちょっと何があったの？
Hey, what's going on over here?
ソラさん、警報が。
Sora, there's an alarm.
そら、たけし、大丈夫？
Sora, Takeshi, are you guys okay? Everyone came running over in a frenzy, splashing water with every step.
もしかしてまた浸水なの？
Don't tell me there's another flood. No.
違う？って何が違うの？
So what is it?
なんか水浸しだよ。
I mean, everything is totally soaked.
タケピョンもびしょ濡れだし。
Takepon, you're drenched. Don't worry about me. The drops of water were still pouring down from the ceiling.
もう、モニターに警報が出たから慌てて飛んできたわよ。
Oh man, we ran over here as soon as we saw the warning on the monitor.
火災警報じゃないの？
We were expecting a fire or something. That's what I keep telling everyone. There's nothing to worry about. Let me explain. Wait, first you, could you put that away? She held a fire extinguisher in both hands as if braced to use it. She had pulled the safety pin and held out the nozzle, ready to spray at any instant's notice. It was a pretty clumsy looking attempt. After a while, the water stopped. Sora smiled and gazed at the flower bed.
もしかしていたずら？
You don't suppose this was just a prank? You know. Now it was my turn to smile. Yeah, I guess it was something like that. Over on that wall there's some kind of weird shaped and colored button. I thought, what the heck does this do? I couldn't help giving it a little push. I said that you tossed the fire extinguisher aside. Then she turned to hide her face to try to contain her laughter.
くらなり。
I don't get what's so funny. Takeshi! She balled up a fist and swung it in my direction.
ちょっとあんたね、小学生じゃないんだからさ。
Listen here, you're not a kid, you know.
こないだも団体行動のルールが守れてなかったし。
Just who broke the group rules the other day, huh?
まったくどういうつもりなのよ。
What are you thinking? You was poised to launch into a sermon. She rambled on, but the words didn't reach my ears. I was gazing at gazing in wonder at the flowers. The previously wilted and drooping flowers had, in such a short time, become full of life and seemed to be dancing about. Midnight stuck up on me. Everyone was already fast asleep. Some were snoring. For us, the situation wasn't getting any better, but at least it wasn't getting any worse. It was better than we just sleep to prepare for what might come. If only I could. I can't sleep. If anyone were awake, they would see me bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. How could I be so tired but not be able to sleep? I started wondering about my body. Oh well. I took a walk to get my mind off of things. Splash. I saw the corridor was covered in water as I quietly slipped out of the room. It's freezing. The ocean water flowed into the room was colder than usual, maybe because it was evening. The ocean cools down extremely slowly. I doubt it. Now I'm even more awake. I continue down the road, my heavily soaked shoes weighing me down with each step. Only the sound of my damp shoes echoed through the night. I didn't encounter a soul as I walked under the corridor. Does anybody get trench foot in this game? I guess you don't get trench foot in only 6 days. Nobody had come to get us. But I decided not to let it get me down. If we're still alive, we had survived up until now, and we would live for the foreseeable future. I thought to myself that anyone who had made it this far would survive. Yeah, we'll make it. As I nodded to myself, I turned a corner in the corridor. Was this a dead end? It seemed like I had reached the end of the floor. I turned around and headed back along the passageway.
よかった。倉成さん、ここにいたんですか？探しましたよ。
Intentionally, he was stopped by the Himmel door, just to remind us that the Himmel door is a thing. Oh good, there you are, Takeshi, I was looking for you.
あら？どうしました？倉成さん。
Hey, what's wrong? Hello? Oh, Sora.
はい？
Yes? Don't scare me like that, Sora. I was surprised. For an instant I had stood there frozen. Because the moment Sora had appeared around that corner, she and I had been face to face. We were so close it seemed like our noses overlapped. Realizing this, I took 3 steps backward. I could feel my heart pounding.
すいません。ちょっと結像位置が近すぎてしまいましたね。
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to get so close to you. Even though I'm a computer, so I know exactly where I am. Sora's cheeks turned a soft red.
変な風に見えてました？私。
Oh, did I look strange? No, don't worry about it. You're beautiful as always.
そうですか。ありがとうございます。
Well, thank you.
なんだか、ちょっと照れますね。
It is just, I'm a little embarrassed. Huh? I felt like I just blurted out something ridiculous. But Sora had smiled when I said it, so maybe it was okay. I tried to calm myself down.
それより倉成さん、他の皆さんはお休みのようだったので、お伝えしなかったのですが。
Well, anyway, everyone is still sound asleep, so I haven't told anyone, but... As she said that, her face suddenly changed. Huh, what?
先ほど、小松さんが寝返りを打とうとされたので、医療用電動ワゴンを差し向けて阻止しました。
A little while ago, Tsugumi was tossing and turning in bed, so I dispatched the medical wagon to keep her still. What does that mean? Really?
私もさすがに驚きました。だって重傷なんですよ、彼女は。それなのに。
Does that mean just like the straps? Yeah, I was surprised. She was seriously hurt, you know, and still... Hey, she should wake up soon, don't you think?
そうですね。意識が戻るかもしれません。
Yes, I think she may soon regain consciousness. Well, she shouldn't be tossing and turning like that. She'll reopen her wounds. I take a short pause, but you won't notice.
実はそれが。
Yes, actually, that is why. Hey, we can't let that happen. That's it, I'll go and check on her.
倉成さん。
Takeshi. I just left her standing there, calling after me. I flew up the stairs as fast as I could and sprinted down the corridor. Arrived in front of the infirmary on the second floor. I poked the bottom to open the door, but it seemed to take forever. The door opened slowly and quietly. Sugumi was lying there on a bed in the back of the room. I walked slowly over to her. So I ran up to the door, and then when I got inside the door, I walked slowly to Sugumi and sat down on the bed next to hers. I could hear a computer working over at the other end of the room, collecting data on her pulse and blood pressure. The data told us the most important thing. She was still alive. However, Tsugumi was still unconscious. Had she really turned in her sleep? She continued to sleep like this. At that moment, her fingers began to twitch. Her eyes opened. I wondered, what should I do? What should I say? Where to begin? Usually you don't right when someone wakes up from a surgery. When you wake up from the surgery, what does the nurse tell you? She gives you a litany, or he or she gives you a litany of directions. Like, don't eat something spicy or greasy. And don't just lay in bed all day, get up and move around. And, this is where you need to wear certain kinds of clothes, and this is when you can take off this layer of bandaging, and then this layer of bandaging, and so on. And then by he or she's own admission, you may not remember anything that he or she is saying. It's like, what's the point? Anyway. But she awoke before I could decide. Good morning. That was all I could say. I hadn't thought of what to say before that.
今、何時なの？
What time is it now? I'm not sure. I pull my PDA from my pocket and check the time. It's May 4th, 1:42 a.m.
そう。
Really? Tsugumi appeared weak as she slightly moved her body. How are you feeling? I don't know. I just suddenly started feeling. Let me figure that out.
愚問ね。
That's a stupid question. I'm just asking. Tell me how you're feeling.
悪いわ。なんだか、体中だるくて。
My whole body hurts.
最低よ。
I feel terrible. Oh. Tsugumi lifted her hand up to her face, opening and closing it slowly. She still couldn't move much. How's the injury? Does it hurt? You may still be under a bit of anesthesia.
傷？
Injury?
麻酔？
Anesthesia? Hey? You didn't forget, did you? Tsugumi's eyes wandered about the room, to the ceiling and the sheets, to the cast on her leg.
ああ。そうね。覚えてる。
Right, I remember. You brought the pipes down on me.
思い出したわ。私。
I remember now. Tsugumi tried to get up, but noticed the various IV cords snaking up her arm. But noticing the various IV cords snaking up her arm, she frowned. I gotta take another break here. Tsugumi tried to get up, but noticing the various IV cords snaking up her arm, she frowned. I don't know if I already read that line or not. This is where she just pulls them out, right? She was alive. She was injured, but still breathing. Her life had been saved, and for that I was grateful. But it was my fault. I was the one who caused her injury. Huh. dropping in another save here. Because this is actually, because not saying anything is good when it comes to Tsugumi. Apologizing is usually good, but this is Tsugumi. So it's like, I wonder how it plays to, Huh. I'm still gonna pick this because it's probably gonna prompt more dialogue, but it's not necessarily the right answer. It might be like a Saki sort of, like when you do Saki's route, you kind of have to do things that are a little counterintuitive. This is in Never 7, if you haven't heard Never 7. You have to like push her to the ground given the option and stuff like that. I'm sorry. I wanted to tell her how I felt.
どうして謝るの？
Why are you apologizing? It was my fault that you're injured. Because I was careless, you ended up getting hurt. It was my fault. That's why I'm sorry. What's more, you protected Coco. You made sure she didn't get hurt. I don't know how to thank you. I lowered my head. But Tsukumi's face soured. She was glaring at me.
勘違いしないで。
Don't misunderstand.
個々の身代わりになって傷を負ったわけじゃない。
I was injured, but it wasn't because I sacrificed myself for Coco's safety. Tsugumi sighed heavily.
私はただ
It's just that.
死にたかっただけ。
It's just that. I wanted to die. What?
なんで助けたりなんかしたの？
How come you had saved me?
あのままほっといてもらえれば
If you left me alone,
死ねたのに。
I could have finally died. Doesn't really explain all of her actions. That's kind of, huh? What? I mean, if I would have hit say nothing, I wouldn't have gotten that little nugget. That's so. Made the right choice, but I jumped up from the bed, shaking my fist furiously. They give my protagonist "you need to live" rant. It's very cliche. What the hell did you just say? You. What do you mean you could have finally died?
言ったでしょ。
That's what I said, right?
私は
I wanted
死
to
にたか
die.
った。
I'll keep cutting Tsugumi off because her lines are long. I wanted to die. Tsugumi gazed at me, narrowing her eyes. She was quiet. I gazed back. I could tell by the look in her eyes that she wasn't joking. I got it. Turned away from Tsugumi, I blurted out something. Well then, Tsugumi, how come you helped Coco? Now better yet, how come you went to repair the warehouse? You wanted to die? Well, then you didn't really have to worry about us now, did you? You shouldn't have cared at all if we'd all died. Right or wrong? Tsugumi's mouth didn't move, neither did the rest of her body. She just laid there. You know, I'm glad I saved you. But I just stopped, thinking that saving you was a good idea. After that, I had nothing more to say. I rose to my feet and left the room.
あ、倉成さん、
Hectic.
どうでしたか、小松さんは。
What the heck, Takeshi? Takeshi, what happened? Where is Tsugumi? Again, Sora was waiting for me. She looked concerned. Oh, her? Yeah, she's fine. She's pretty quiet. I'm no doctor, but I think she'll be back on her feet soon enough. Besides, she doesn't look like she's dying. I think we can all relax.
あの
Sora simply blinked at me, and then her eyes narrowed sadly.
そんな言い方をしてはいけませんよ、倉成さん。
You shouldn't talk like that, Takeshi. Huh?
小松さんは重傷なんです。まだまだ安静にしていないといけないんですよ。
Tsugumi is very hurt, Takeshi. He needs to rest more than anything, you know. Was that right? I had almost forgotten. No matter how badly she had treated me, Tsugumi would still be bedridden for months recovering. You're right, I'm sorry. That came out a little harsh.
倉成さん、小松さんと喧嘩されたんじゃありませんか？
You had a fight with Tsugumi, didn't you? Her body stiffened as she asked. No, I wouldn't say that. I was just disappointed with her.
がっかり？
Disappointed? Yeah. There's no way I could tell Sora that what Tsugumi had just said to me. I still couldn't accept that she would say such a thing. Oh, never mind, just forget it. It's just that I guess I'm still upset at myself. It was my fault Tsugumi got hurt. You know, I just don't know what to say. She can be, damn it.
気に病むことなんてありませんよ。
Takeshi, please don't worry about it. Sora smiled
怪
softly.
我は誰のせいでもないんです。
It was no one's fault that Tsugumi got injured.
今のレミューを取り巻く状況は誰か一人のせいではありません。
The situation here in the Moo is not anyone's fault. Are you sure, Sora? We know you can lie.
倉成さんも私にそう言ってくれたじゃないですか。
It was you who told me that. Yeah, but Takeshi doesn't know anything.
倉成さん、小松さんが何とおっしゃっていたかわかりませんけど、
Takeshi, I'm not sure what Tsugumi told you.
彼女は助かったんですから、私は嬉しいです。
All I know is that you saved her, and for that I am grateful.
小松さんが無事助かって嬉しく思っています。
I mean, whose fault it was that Tsugumi got hurt? Tsugumi may have given slightly wrong pipe directions, such that they caused a backflow. But then it was Takeshi's fault that he lost his balance and grabbed a stack of boxes. But then it was Koko's fault that she didn't get out of the way, so that she needed to be saved. But then it was Tsugumi's fault that she saved Koko. Sora produced a bright smile. Yeah, I suppose I should be happy, huh? Yeah, ha ha ha. I couldn't help but laugh along with her. It broke the tension. I embarrassingly scratched the tip of my nose. You know, Tsugumi was really in a really bad mood for some reason. Maybe she just didn't want to see my face. Usually you're in a really bad mood when you wake up after being sedated. Just to let you know. It really sucks. Yeah, that was probably it. First she got hurt, then the operations. She must have been upset about that. Maybe that was all there was to it. Even if it wasn't that, I didn't want this to drag on forever. I helped Tsugumi and she was recovering. It was as simple as that. I was happy with that. And there was Sora smiling in front of me. Hey Sora, are you busy right now?
ええ、平気ですけど。
Not really, but...
倉成さん、お休みにならなくてもいいんですか？
Takeshi, are you sure you do not need more rest? No, I'm fine. I already tried to sleep, but I couldn't, which is why I went for a walk. Let's make our way back to the dolphin carousel. We can talk. I turned to her and slowly reached out my open hand.
はい。
Right. Sora brought her hand up and placed it on mine. I guess we're getting sucked into a Sora route. And then we were off riding the dolphins on the merry-go-round. Sora turned on the power to the merry-go-round and got on before quickly taking off. I rode on the dolphin next to her. The ride pulsated with vibrant colors as it revolved around the space. I hadn't ridden a carousel since my childhood, but I didn't feel strange about it. In fact, it was fun. My heart skipped a few beats. Thank you.
え、
I'm sorry. Thank you, Sora, for your help.
フォロー、そうですか？
My help? Just keep it at that. Thank you.
いえ、そんな。私の方こそ、いろいろ倉成さんにお世話になってますし。
No, I should be the one thanking you. You have helped me so much.
それに、小松さんにも田中さんにも、ココちゃんに少年さん、皆さんに感謝しています。
Tsugumi. Oh, the translators actually, the localization team actually did the last name this time. Tanaka, which is you. Coco, the kid. I am in debt to everyone. In debt?
私はここ数日で
Lately I've been.
人が生きるということに改めて触れている気がしているんです。
I feel like I've gained a new perspective on human life.
みんな諦めないで立ち向かって工夫して。
Everyone holds their ground. They fight and try to figure out ways to survive.
これまでレミューの業務の中では私はそんな人たちの行いにほとんど触れたことがありませんでした。
In all the time that I have spent here at Lemu, I had not ever really been with people. Yeah,
もしもですけど、
it was.
もしもここに何も起きず、いつもと変わりない光景が繰り返されていたとしたら、
This microcosm, day after day of the same scenery, nothing changed, nothing happened.
人々が本当にそこに生きているということに私はずっと気づかなかったのかもしれません。
I did not care what happened to the people here.
だから私はこの機会と出会いに感謝したい。
Now I'm grateful to have met with this opportunity. Yeah, but what if this situation that caused this opportunity results in their deaths, though? Which it very well could if I get a bad ending.
今この瞬間も
And I'm happy that even at this moment,
このような閉塞的な状況にあってもみんな生きていこうって。
despite what happened in this dour situation, people are still striving to live.
明日を信じて生きているんですよね。
Come on, everyone. Believe in tomorrow so that you can live today. Yeah.
すいません。
Oh, I'm sorry. Sora shrugged, embarrassed.
私また不謹慎なことばかり言ってしまって。
I'm always saying things I should not. I didn't mean to gush.
ごめんなさい。本当にデリカシーが欠けてますよね、私。
I'm sorry, really. I was really lacking refinement. No, it's fine. People don't have refinement. You don't need it. I laughed it off, waving my to show her it didn't matter. You never saw it at Lemu when it was empty? From the time you came to Lemu and start working, there have always been people. It's natural that there were things you didn't know, that you had doubts and made mistakes.
確かにそうなんですけどね。
I suppose you're right. So don't worry about it.
皆さんの脱出経路をきちんと確保できればいいんですけど、通信系の回復だって。
It would be great if we could ensure that everybody has an escape route, but even the communications are still. It's like pop-up theory. Sora caused this whole disaster so that she could experience this. That's alright. I know it's difficult. We're not expecting the impossible. We haven't even found a safe route out of here. Rather than us looking for an escape route haphazardly, I think it would be best to wait for help.
ええ、そうですね。
Because plot. Yes, I think you're right. Sora let out a soft sigh and smiled.
そうだ、倉成さん。ここから脱出できたら、まず何がしたいですか？
So Takeshi, if you do make it out of here, what is it that you want to do first? Well, I know that I want to eat something other than a kiosk sandwich. There's a great restaurant close to my home. It's run by a nice old lady. She gets along with everybody. She's got a round face, kind of like a classic car.
クラシックカー？
A classic car?
ビートルでしょうか？
You mean like a VW Beetle? Right, just like that Beetle. That Miss Beetle makes a mean bowl of miso ramen. I wonder how she's doing right now.
なんだかおかしいです。
You are funny.
ここを出て最初に会いたい人がそのおばちゃんなんですか？
You get out of this place and the first person you want to meet is an old woman. Oh, was that weird?
いえ、
No, not really.
倉成さん、お付き合いをしている女性とかいらっしゃらないのですか？
Isn't there a girl waiting for you back home? It's like when you say, have you kissed someone in Ever17, it doesn't matter. I mean, considering Takeshi, I would say no. So yeah, to answer your question, no one is waiting for me out there. We broke up a long time ago. And it was a clean break, if you know what I mean.
そうですか。では倉成さんは恋をなさったことがあるのですね。
See, you've been in love before. I wouldn't put it that way. And, well, our relationship wasn't your perfect love story. But I have been in love.
素晴らしいです、倉成さん。
That's great, Takeshi. Sora smiled slightly. Hey, stop teasing me. You're making me embarrassed.
素晴らしいですよ。
And it's really fantastic. I'm pretty sure my face was as red as a boiled crab by then. And imagining it only made it worse, that's for sure.
だって私はないんです。
I've never been. What? You're a computer.
私したことないんです。
Never. Never what?
経験がないんです。
Never had that experience. What experience?
恋とは何でしょう。
Tell me this. What is love? Sora suddenly put on a serious face.
私は知りたくなりました。
I want to know.
恋とは何でしょう。
What is love?
方法、手段、意味、目的。
This is extremely cliche. But we do it because we like it. I mean, we have this kind of thing in games because we like to read it. It's not cliche doesn't mean bad. Tell me its how, its method, its meaning, its purpose.
なぜ恋をするのでしょうか。
Why do you love?
どうしたら恋ができるんでしょうか。
How does one go about loving? Sora was firing off one question after another. And they didn't seem to me like easy questions to answer.
倉成さんは恋の経験者ですよね。
Takeshi, you're someone who has loved. Here it comes.
恋とは何なのか、
What is love?
どんなものなのか、説明してはいただけないでしょうか。
What is love? Can you explain it and help me understand it? Takeshi, I wouldn't go to him to have this explained to you. It's actually not that easy to explain, though. So. Well, I take that back. Well, Takeshi can't explain it, but I want to hear what Takeshi says. So I'm going to say I can't explain it, just to hear what junk he spews. Alright, here comes an explanation. Agree to give an explanation a shot. Okay, what definitions does your database give for love?
池の魚というオチは禁止です。
Better not be preparing a punchline about tennis. Is that transparent? Ah!
そのくらいのネタはお見通しです。使い古されてますから。
Yes, that's about as much of a cliche as you can get. You're pretty hard to please, huh? I took a deep breath. Okay, let's try this again. Right now the score is love 15. 15?
薄いの反対というのも禁止です。
I thought I said no tennis jokes. What, you are serious? Very impressive, your AI.
そのくらいのネタはお見通しです。使い古されてますから。
Yes, that's about as much of a cliche as you can get. Alright, get ready. Okay, give me another meaning of love.
わざとですか？
As in an act or a feeling? Yes, that's right.
行為の一歩手前のこと？
Act as in doing something, correct? That is the title of a book. Love is a verb. Anyway.
えーっと、データベースにあったから私はそう答えただけです。
Those are all the definitions that I have in my database.
倉成さん、そろそろ本題に。
Takeshi, could you please answer my original question? Okay, there's one more meaning to love. Give me a second to explain it. Think. Give me a minute to think.
どうぞ。
Yes, 1 minute. I took a deep breath. My heart was pounding.
1分経ちました。
1 minute has expired. What, already? Sorry, give me 5 more minutes. No, I need 10 minutes. Please, no, I need more time. Much more time. There was just no simple way to explain it to her.
そうですか？わかりました。
Really? Fine then. Sora waited impatiently.
では、そうですね。自答してみましょう。
Alright, I'll try to answer my own question.
私は私なりの見解を述べます。
Let me express my notion of love. Sora began to speak.
私はこう仮定します。
Let us imagine a flower.
花々は恋をしますか？
Can a flower love?
しないような気がします。
It seems to me it cannot.
少なくとも人間の目からは理解できる恋の行動は見られないようです。
At least from the perspective of human beings, flowers don't act in any way that can be viewed as love.
動物たちは恋をしますか？
What about animals? Do they love?
するかもしれませんし、しないかもしれません。
They may love, they may not.
恋であるように見える行動がある種の動物にはあります。
Some animals seem to act out of love. They have observed this to an extent.
しかしその真意はわかりません。
Perhaps animals do not understand the true meaning of love. It's actually good. It's a good
人
speech.
間でいうところの恋と同義であるかどうかは不明です。
It's unclear whether it is the same as the human definition of love.
人間は恋をしますか？
Do humans love?
はい。人は恋します。
Yes, I believe so.
恋。それは、
Love is...
つまり人に備わった不可思議な機能なのです。
Love is one of those mysterious things that people are programmed to do.
人間が生殖を行う上での一つの機能であり、
One of its functions is reproduction.
それでいて生殖そのものからは独立したものであるところの
That appears to be a function independent of love. Stop. But Sora continued to speak, so I cupped my hand over her mouth. I put my hand over her mouth, but I couldn't feel her lips. Hey, hold up, slow down. I couldn't tell if her lips were warm or not. But somehow felt as if something were there, but then again, maybe it was my imagination. I felt trying to see if there was some sort of warm feeling. Let's see, let me tell you what I think. Why does a rose bloom? Why does a canary sing? Sora just stood there blinking at me. That's not the way you go about this. Her eyes were fixed on me. Love is not rational. It's not something that you try to explain through logic. It's something that is planted in the depths of your heart and seedily blossoms into something beautiful. If something goes wrong, the flower might wilt and die. But if the love is true, it may bear amazing fruit. There is no rhyme nor reason to the process of love. Even if you do find reason in it, love isn't an emotion that you can control easily. Love is something that visits like wakefulness after a slumber. Just as we awake in the morning to begin our day, we are put on this earth for the purpose of love. To live is to love. To ask what is the meaning of love is to ask what is the meaning of life. I slowly removed my hand from her lips. My hand was slightly sweet and sweat, which I think is supposed to say sweet and warm. So I'll end it there, but before I hit the stop record, I'll say this. Love is the ability to sacrifice your own life to preserve the life of someone else.